Okay, let's unpack this. You've probably heard chatter about federal budget cuts, right? But what does that really mean if you're a federal employee navigating the system after a workplace injury? Today, we're doing a deep dive into the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs, OWCP, specifically for federal workers injured on the job. Our mission here is simple: cut through the noise, extract the key info from the sources we've looked at, and help you understand why getting an OWCP claim accepted can feel like such an uphill battle, and, maybe more importantly, how people are actually managing to succeed despite these odds. Think of this as your shortcut to getting informed.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, isn't it, how these high-level decisions, these budget constraints, trickle all the way down. You mentioned the budget cuts. Our sources really connect the dots here. Remember the sequestration cuts starting back around 2013?
Vaguely, yeah. Those headlines about across-the-board cuts.
Exactly. And they weren't just numbers on a page. They led to real things like hiring freezes, spending caps. And OWCP wasn't immune. Not at all. So over the last decade or so, what we've seen is the number of claims examiners at OWCP just steadily decreasing.
Meaning fewer people to handle the claims.
Right. And get this, each examiner left is juggling, on average, about 550 cases at one time.
550, wow.
Yes. I mean, just try to picture that workload. So naturally, that impacts processing times. Big time. You get long delays for injured workers, people waiting for decisions, waiting for payments. And this is happening even though the overall number of federal workplace injuries has actually gone down a bit.
So fewer injuries, but the system is even more clogged because of staffing.
That's the picture the sources paint. OWCP is under-resourced. That leads to backlogs, slower responses. It just makes everything harder for the person needing help.
Okay, so bring it down to the individual level. If I'm that injured worker, what does this under-resourced system mean for me trying to get my claim approved?
Well, it means it's tougher. Plain and simple. The burden of proof, legally, is entirely on you, the worker.
So just filling out the first form isn't enough.
Oh, definitely not. Submitting, say, a basic CA1 form or just a simple doctor's note. Often insufficient now. You need really extensive evidence and a super clear explanation of how the injury is work-related.
And the sources point out some common pitfalls, right? Things that lead straight to a denial, like paperwork errors.
Absolutely. That's a huge one. Incomplete or incorrect paperwork. Even seemingly minor stuff, a missed signature, a wrong date on a CA1 or CA2 that can trigger a denial. Every single blank needs to be filled out correctly. All the supporting docs attached. It sounds basic, but it trips people up constantly.
Okay, paperwork. What else? You mentioned the medical side.
Yes, and this is arguably the biggest obstacle. The inadequate medical narrative. OWCP requires a really detailed report from your physician. It needs to clearly link your diagnosed injury directly to what happened on the job or your work conditions. If that narrative is vague or weak or doesn't explicitly state that causal link, denial. Usually for lack of causal relationship. I mean, one source put it bluntly, bad doctors' narratives are causing denied cases.
So a doctor might diagnose you correctly, treat you well, but if they don't write the report in the specific way our WCP needs...
Your claim could be dead in the water. Exactly.
Okay, so bad paperwork, weak medical narrative. Are there other common reasons claims get denied or delayed?
Miscommunication is another big one. Or just missing information. Maybe your employing agency drags its feet submitting the accident report, or your doctor takes forever sending the medical records. Any gap like that can stall the whole process.
Right. The examiner can't move forward without all the pieces.
Exactly. And then sometimes the agency itself might challenge the claim. Or maybe your supervisor just doesn't know the OWCP procedures well, and that complicates things. And, while legally you can't be fired just for reporting a work injury, the fear of retaliation is real for many workers. That adds another layer of stress.
It sounds like a minefield, and the statistics you mentioned really underscore this difficulty.
They're pretty stark. On average, nationwide, only about 3% of federal employee work injury claims actually get accepted by OWCP.
3%, that's incredibly low.
It is. And it varies a bit by agency. Like in 2017, the Postal Service was higher, maybe around 6.7%. But the Department of Veterans Affairs was even lower, just 2.2%.
So the vast majority are initially denied or stuck in delays.
Correct. Which definitely gives the impression that OWCP is being much tougher on approvals. Whether that's purely to ensure only valid claims get through or it's a side effect of being under-resourced, the result is the same for the worker.
The takeaway seems clear. Getting a claim accepted today demands meticulous documentation and really knowing a process inside and out.
Precisely. It circles back to that idea of constrained resources making the system less forgiving. You have to present a flawless case right from the start.
Okay, let's talk about time. If you do manage to file everything perfectly, how long are we talking? OWCP has goals, right?
They do. They publish targeted timeframes. For a straightforward traumatic injury, that's a CA1 case, they aim for a decision within 75 days of getting the claim.
75 days. Okay.
For a simple occupational illness, a CA2 case, the target is 90 days.
90 days.
Then, for more complex occupational disease or injury cases, it gets longer. They aim for about 6 months. And for the really complex ones, the target is within 10 months.
But you emphasize targeted time frame.
Yes, that's the key word, targets. That assumes a perfect claim, all evidence submitted upfront, no hitches. The reality, many workers wait much longer.
Why the delay?
All the things we've talked about, missing documents, OWCP deciding they need another medical opinion, the examiner just having a huge backlog.
Yeah.
Any of those can stretch things out. We've seen reports, news stories about workers waiting weeks, even months, just to get approval for a necessary surgery or a visit to a specialist.
Ugh, that must be incredibly frustrating when you're injured and need care.
Absolutely. And here's another kicker. Every time OWCP sends you a letter asking for more information, that can basically reset the clock. They usually give you 30 days or more to respond, so each request adds potentially weeks or months to the total time.
So best case, maybe 2 or 3 months for a straightforward, perfect claim. But realistically, if there are any complexities or missing pieces.
It could easily stretch to 6 months, or even longer. Much longer in some cases.
Okay, given all these hurdles and potential delays, what's the strategy? How can you actually speed up an OWCP approval?
The single best strategy, according to all our sources, is submitting a really strong, fully documented claim right from the very beginning. Front-load everything.
Leave no doubt for the examiner.
Exactly. No doubt that the injury is work-related, no doubt that it meets all the OWCP criteria, and central to that, again, is the medical narrative report from your doctor.
That keeps coming up as critical.
Because it is. That report absolutely must do 3 things clearly. 1, state your diagnosis. 2, describe the work incident or factors that caused it. And 3, explain the causation medically. How did the work event lead to this specific injury? A narrative that nails all 3. That can be the difference between getting approved relatively quickly and getting stuck in that back and forth, or just getting denied.
And the experts cited in our sources really hammer this point home.
They do. They consistently point to weak physician narratives as a top reason for denials. Conversely, a comprehensive, well-written report anticipates and preempts most of the questions OWCP might have.
So getting that narrative right is job number 1. What else can you do proactively to speed things up?
Well, file the claim immediately. Don't wait. Meet all the deadlines. Double-check, triple-check every form for accuracy before you submit. Include all the supporting evidence you have right away, accident reports, witness statements if there were any, results from diagnostic tests like MRIs or X-rays.
Don't wait for them to ask.
Don't wait. Also, keep the lines of communication open with your employing agency. Make sure they submit their part of the paperwork promptly. And, crucially, if OWCP does send you a letter asking for more info, jump on it. Respond as quickly and as thoroughly as you possibly can. That alone can shave weeks off the process.
So it really comes down to preparation and accuracy, being proactive.
That's it. You front-load the claim with everything needed, make it as easy as possible for the examiner to approve it. That reduces the chances of delays, reduces the need for them to ask questions, and speeds up the whole thing.
That makes sense, but it also raises a big question. How do you, the injured worker who's probably stressed, in pain, and definitely not an expert in federal bureaucracy, achieve that level of precision? It sounds overwhelming.
It is overwhelming for most people, and that's why our sources highlight a really interesting trend. Injured workers are increasingly turning to specialized medical clinics that focus specifically on OWCP cases.
So finding expertise outside the system.
Precisely. We're seeing clinics, especially those that are part of networks like the Federal Injury Centers, really develop deep expertise in this niche. The sources mention specific examples, like a clinic called Restore Muscle and Joint, with locations in Kansas City and St. Louis. Their doctors and staff get advanced training specifically on OWCP rules, the paperwork, the whole process.
Okay, so how does going to a clinic like that actually help speed up the claim? What do they do differently?
Well, several key things. First, their doctors know exactly what OWCP needs to see in that medical narrative we keep talking about. They do thorough exams, and then they write those detailed reports that clearly connect the injury to the federal job duties. hitting all the causation points OWCP looks for. That tackles the biggest denial reason head-on.
Okay, so better medical documentation. What else?
Second, they usually have experienced OWCP claim specialists right there on staff. These aren't doctors. They're experts on the paperwork. They help you fill out every form correctly, avoiding those little errors that can get a claim kicked back on a technicality.
Like having a guide for the bureaucracy.
Exactly. And third, these dedicated clinics often take on the communication piece.
Sure.
They'll follow up with OWCP, they'll talk to your employing agency if needed. If OWCP asks for more information, or if there's some kind of dispute, the clinic can often handle it directly and quickly because they know the system. They anticipate potential problems before they happen.
So they manage the medical documentation, the paperwork accuracy, and the follow-up communication.
That's the model, yes. It's a comprehensive approach designed specifically for the OWCP process.
That sounds powerful, especially addressing that weak medical narrative issue. Do we have evidence this approach actually works? Do the results back it up?
They really do. The results reported are quite striking. Our sources indicate that these specialized clinics often achieve incredibly high success rates, far higher than the national average. For instance, that Restore Muscle and Joint Clinic in Kansas City. They report a 98% OWCP claim acceptance rate for the federal injury cases they handle.
98%, compared to the average of 3%.
It's a massive difference, isn't it? And their St. Louis location apparently achieves similarly high rates because they use the same focused expertise.
Wow. How? What's the secret sauce there?
It seems to be about properly documenting the injury and, crucially, getting the narrative done right from the very beginning. By submitting a claim that's already complete, accurate, and medically well supported, they drastically cut down the reasons for OWCP to deny or delay. Many of their claims reportedly get accepted on the first submission without going through appeals.
So for federal employees in areas with clinics like these, it's a significant advantage.
It really seems to be. Access to specialists who live and breathe OWCP rules means potentially faster approvals, way less hassle, and getting the medical care and benefits you need much sooner instead of being stuck fighting denials. So just to wrap that part up, yes, federal budget cuts have undeniably strained OWCP. It's made the system harder to navigate, requirements feel stricter, and understaffing causes delays. Many claims do get bogged down or denied, often because of incomplete applications or those weak medical narratives.
But, and this seems to be the crucial counterpoint, knowing the system or working with people who really know the system can completely change your outcome. Seeking out help from an OWCP-savvy clinic, like the examples discussed, lets an injured worker submit that strong, buttoned-up claim from the start, and that directly accelerates the approval. It really seems like preparation, precision, and getting the right kind of medical support are the absolute keys to successfully navigating OWCP today.
That sums it up well. Even with the budget challenges and the tighter scrutiny, those elements give you the best shot at a quick, favorable decision.
You know, this whole deep dive into OWCP claims, it really highlights something powerful about tackling any complex system, doesn't it? That knowledge, combined with really precise execution, acts as incredible leverage. What's fascinating is seeing how, even when faced with resource shortages and bureaucratic hurdles that seem huge, taking a very targeted, well-prepared approach, often with specialized help, can just fundamentally change the result. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where else in your life could a similar deep dive focusing on preparation, precision, and finding the right support give you that kind of significant advantage when facing complexity?